Lots of D&D adventures take place in ruins, like they should. They're a timeless, classic location. But that's not why you and I should use them, because there's actually a lot of heavy lifting going on that ruins do that DMs don't even realize is taking place, like the 5 things that we're going to talk about today.
In case it's not abundantly obvious, this is the reason why I had to do a video on Dungeons and Dragons in ruins. This is the Chichoban ruins in Mexico.
The crumbling masonry around you has no voice, but shouts its age nonetheless. A dark stain on the stone could be ancient blood, or just a faded pattern. Despite its silent scream, the details lay just beneath the surface, waiting for you to investigate. Part of the allure of ancient ruins is the mysteries that they contain. Who built it? What did they use it for? Where are they now? Who's here now? And where the heck did that blasted rogue run off to this time? These questions could be enough to drive a prepper DM crazy, or to get them excited. It can really go either way. Regardless, one thing that ruins do to enhance these mysteries is provide us with an easy and needed out. As a throwaway comment, you might mention a faded mosaic on a wall in a ruin. An interested player investigates and rolls well, so you feed them a little bit of the information that you have prepared. They're hungry for more, but you don't have anything, and nothing is coming to mind. Panic or lean into the ruins. The next segment of the mural has long since faded away, ruining forever the rest of the story, unless perhaps it's contained somewhere else in these ruins. Whew, time bought. Exploration encouraged. And now you can decide whether or not there is more info for the group to find elsewhere, or if that was enough, now they have time to think about it. The ability to present incomplete information in ruins drives exploration, builds mysteries up, and simplifies our prep, all of which enhances our exploration. I watched a video not long ago by the GM philosopher on how to make things more epic in D&D. It was a good video, though I totally disagree with him. That's okay, he and I can still be friends. His theory was essentially that epicness came from enhanced amounts of detail. Meanwhile, I think that it comes from scale. A slavering wolf is scary. A titanic wolf the size of a skyscraper leaping across a canyon is epic. And the difference is scale. Size is a form of scale. Twisting the dial on it enables us to take our imagination from the mundane into the awe-inspiring. Age is another form of scale, and one that ruins excel in adding to our games. The dwarves that carve these stone steps measure their own lives in centuries, their generations in millennia, and have forgotten the origins of these grand stairs. The stones themselves are worn smooth by countless feet and built of rock from the first days of creation. This awe is a real thing. I literally felt it myself in the Chichoban ruins while wandering amongst temples that were active as much as 3,000 years ago. The idea that the steps that I was climbing down might be that old absolutely boggled my mind. It made it an experience I'll never forget. And ruins have that ability to add age as a scale into our adventures. And scale makes things more epic. There are functional reasons why ruins are awesome too, though, especially if you run a bunch of combats, particularly on a map. The first that sprang to mind was just how easily ruins lend themselves to 3D combat on a 2D grid. Because ruins often feature open air, it's easy to represent height with a dice beside a token or a sticky note somewhere or writing on the map itself. But when flight isn't an option, ruins also make it easy to add terrain or buildings that maybe have an exterior that could be leapt upon, but not an interior that also needs to be represented. So you can climb on it, but not in it. And that is surprisingly helpful when you're drawing your battle map by hand. My favorite ruin is the ziggurat. It's featured in tons of older adventures, and one of the reasons is because the tiered steps allow you to add verticality to a map, and yet they're not easy to get inside, so you don't have to then figure out a way to represent the interior at the same time as the outside. There's nuance to the verticality that's added as well, because it's easier to jump down than it is to jump up. Go figure. Meaning that being atop the ziggurat gives you some form of advantage, as you could more easily leap down or leap away, move for cover, or otherwise use the ruin for more excitement at the table. But ruins also lend themselves to two other great battlefield features. The first, of course, is difficult terrain. It's pretty easy to provide difficult terrain in an area where you can simply talk about something having crumbled down, broken masonry on the floor, or ruined walls that have shattered and covered an area, even fallen pillars that provide a little bit of cover but an obstacle for movement. All these are a great way to add some flavor to your battlefield and provide some more options and nuance to a game, especially in a larger area that's going to have some movement during the combat. The second is breakable terrain. As you enter the ruined chamber, a once grand hall with 2 columns long since destroyed and 2 still standing lays before you. The stone ceiling sags, and dust blowing in through a damaged wall to the east tells of space beyond as the opening door changes the pressure in the room. When you walk into a broken place in D&D, naturally your thoughts just turn to breaking it further. Maybe that's just me. Anyway, regardless, the broken down nature of ruins makes it easy for us to add interactive elements to our maps. Whether in combat or out, players love bringing down the house, smashing through walls, or toppling columns. Just don't forget that you can use this against them as the DM too. Nothing says get moving like a bugbear kicking in the wall and the ceiling threatening to collapse. Ruins also allow us to tell more than one story. This might almost be a subpoint of my first point, but hey, my video, my points, right? Right. Ruins naturally have more than one story to tell. Obviously, they've got an origin story, like any good superhero, and then they've got the story of how they came to be ruined. Maybe also like a superhero? Sort of fits. Where we diverge from superheroes is that ruins can have had all sorts of occupants since their origin story came to pass. And I'm not interested in talking about that kind of superhero. Each of these occupancies and events is an opportunity for a story to be unfolded to your players. Not to mention, of course, the current occupants and their story. These stories can be layered one over another in order to add depth to the location itself and to spur on the exploration of your inquisitive players, or as a fancy backdrop for your murder hobos. Your mileage may vary by table. If I'm designing a ruin, I like to make a list of secrets related to each of the major events within the ruin. Then I can sprinkle a few of those around here and there, creating a bunch of little mystery trails for the players to follow in order to learn everything that ever happened here. 3 to 5 points for each event will usually do. Together, they should give an idea of the purpose of the place during that event, what happened, and who did it. I dole them out in dribs and drabs, one from this list, one from another list, until we find one that has players' interest and they can follow it through to gain all the information that they're looking for. Or not. That's totally their choice. Regardless, it helps the place to come alive a little bit and helps to make the age that we talked about earlier feel real to the players. One thing about ruins is that it's easy to imagine something being run down. We've seen places like that as we've driven past them on the road. But most of us haven't gone crawling through monster-infested ruins. D&D is a game about imagination, after all.
With imagination, I can be anything I want.
But sometimes when we lean too hard on people's imaginations, trying to get them to imagine something abstract or unrelatable, it can really make it challenging to get everybody's inner vision to get close enough that your descriptions are going to make sense to people. That's why the relatable unfamiliarity of ruins is so useful. It's easy to understand and easy to imagine, bringing that shared vision a little bit closer at the table so that everybody sees one shade of the same place that you're describing. And getting the same picture in people's mind's eye is actually more important than most people think. But importantly, even though they can relate to it in this, it's still full of unknowns to allow for the excitement and curiosity and occasionally fear of what is around the next corner. It's an unfamiliar location, but one that we can relate to. And that's it. If you're still here, this is the end of the video, and I just want you to know how much I appreciate you. This girl won't stick around for my entire video, but you guys, your help and your support and the time that you spend here with me really does mean a lot. I don't know that I'd be able to continue to do something like this without such an awesome group of supportive people that throw out great comments my way. My memberships join me on Discord and keep me talking about this game that I just love talking about. So just know you're the best. For now, here's some cat video to tide you over until the next video. I'll see you there.